about 2 weeks ago, went into contract on a building for yeshiva. Long story, but whatever. We just went into contract without any plan of what's next. And I had to come up with $500,000. I don't know how, but it happened. And we put down $500,000 onto the table. And we also signed a deal that if in 45 days we don't come up with the balance of, do the math, between 4.675 million and $500,000, that's about 10% of what we put down, then we lose the 10%, and doesn't bode well for the yeshiva if you can't pay for it. And so now we need to go to the bank and get a mortgage from the bank. So Baruch Hashem, there's someone sponsoring the mortgage, but I'm not sure exactly how much it'll be. It looks like we need to come up with about $1 million. That was about 2 weeks ago, so I think we have, I'm not looking at the exact clock, but about 29 days from now. How much money do we have? The answer is round. Without any ones before it. A very round zero. So what do? How do you get money? Charity campaigns, I don't know how you produce charity campaigns. This Mesa was just created now. It doesn't have any... Oh, great. Okay. What? Okay, great. So I'll raise over here. Awesome. Okay, great. 30 ambassadors, we could get $1,000. So the question is, what? It's a long story, but I just opened it up basically. It just started to exist 2 weeks ago. It's a Masifta. It's a 9th grade. Shir Aleph Masifta. It's in Ramapo, New York. Monsey. But half the kids come from Kanites. Long story. One day I'll tell you the story. It's quite an amazing miracle because 7 months ago it was in my head and now it's in a building with full Bachram and everything. It's like a bit crazy, but yeah. Anyway, but now I'm a little bit stressed out, to say the least. And the way to get $1 million, I mean, I'd love to chat to you guys about $1 million, but I think in this forum, we'll spend time learning Chassidus. I'm not going to even try to fundraise from you. The primary reason is because I'm making an assumption over here that nobody has $1 million to give. I don't know why. I'm just making that assumption. If anyone does, by the way, and you want to make a miracle over here, please feel free. But generally, the way you do things done is if you want to get something done, you got to go ask people who need them, who have money to give, right? So you go to someone who could give you potentially that money, and then you've got to decide if he wants to give it or not. You know what happens when you go to a guy and ask him for $1 million? It's very scary. It's very, 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 very intimidating. And generally, the way you walk in is there's an energy in the room. The energy is kind of like something like this, like, okay, you are almighty and all-powerful because you have the mighty dollar, and I am on the receiving side, nabach pour me, because I'm the Moised and I need the money, and if I don't get the money, then I'm in trouble. So what I really need to be able to do is to flip the energy into a different kind of a space, because make no mistake, probably the most important thing you could do in any of this type of tense situation is to change your energy and to feel different and walk in completely different. Because not that energy gives money, but it sure does help. So if I walk in, I'm intimidated, well, that doesn't work. So how do I flip the intimidation and flip the conversation to the point that the person feels that it's an absolute privilege to be able to give to this organization? And like, you can't think of anything more important than that. Because if I walk in and, if I speak to a guy and I say, would you like to give money? And he says, why? This happened yesterday. He says, why are you calling me? Like, I didn't get it. Why do I owe you? You decide to open a yeshiva and it's my problem? And I'm supposed to give you money? And the chutzpah of it. And you're calling me and you're like thinking about numbers which are like 7 digits? Like, really? You're kidding me, right? And I'm like, what should I respond to that? Doesn't feel good, right? So what I want to do today is learn how, using Maimer, because that's our topic, we could actually change the energy and actually make things happen in the world that are different. So before I do, think about, I don't know if anyone wants to share or not, but if you do, that will be great. Otherwise, think about things that you have going on in your life whereby you need to flip your energy and to change the way you think. And how do you change it? Anyone want to share anything? Generally something you're going through, and then there's like a resistance and a blockage, and that's preventing you from making it happen. Now, let's just see, feel free at any time to share if you want, but let's just see there's a mimer on this week's parsha actually, from Likutei Torah. The mimer is called V'le'ava Hashem Elekecha Lishmoy al Bilam. The words are behind me, if you want to see them up there. Hashem, your God, did not want to listen to Bilam. So the story was that Bilam was this wicked, the wicked prophet, and he really didn't like Jews for no reason. And he picked a fight for no reason. And so Balak hired him, and the goal was to curse the Jews, because Balak said, I don't know how to fight them, let's curse them. And what happens is, in our parsha it says, God decided to not listen to Bilam. God transformed the curse into blessing. Why? Because God loves you. And when you look at this story, it's very difficult to grasp. Like, what was Bilam thinking exactly? Imagine Hashem took the Jews out of Egypt with 10 plagues. Then he split the sea for them, and he gave them all these miracles in the desert, and then he gave them the Torah and declared them to be his people. And Bilam is like, yeah, but if I get him in a moment that he's angry, he'll destroy them. Like, seriously? Do you really for 1 second believe that Hashem intends to destroy the Jewish people? They're his people, he loves them, he wants them. Why would God think of destroying his people? Right? Very strange that Bilam would entertain the thought. It sounds like the story of King Ahasuerus, who was in a bad mood, and because he was in a bad mood and in a drunken stupor, so someone like Bilam convinced him to execute his wife, and so he beheaded her. That's good for a king like Ahasuerus, but how do you apply that to God? Like, what are you thinking? What's Bilam thinking? God's going to get upset? Okay, yeah, kill them. Seriously? What do you think? And why do we have to read this in our lives? Why is that important for you and I to know? Okay, very nice. Hashem loves us. And no matter what happens, God's got your back. Thank you, Hashem. I really, really, really appreciate it. Why is it relevant to me to know? Is there anything over here that's an instruction in my life? Is there anything I'm supposed to be doing here other than waiting for Hashem to save me? So in Likutei Torah this week, the Alter Rebbe proceeds to explain what this verse means to you in your life. And what he shows us is that Bilam is actually pretty smart. See, what was Bilam's idea? Rashi actually brings it. Bilam's idea was, hey God, you know how you get upset at these Jews sometimes? You know how you also wanted to kill them? Remember by the Egel Azab when they did the golden calf, and you got really fed up with them and you said, let me just destroy them. Remember, God, how you felt in the when they sinned with the spies? Like, God, you got issues with these Jews. So what does Bilam do? He says, listen, Hashem, it's true that 95% of the time they're amazing. They love you and they're incredible and they're listening. But isn't it true that 5% of the time you just go crazy and mad at them? It's like between a mother and a daughter. I'm sure everybody here loves, absolutely adores their moms. And has the greatest time with your mom, right? But sometimes, things happen. Do you think it's possible to draw, chas v'shalom, a rift between a mother and a daughter? Is it possible? Is it possible to focus enough on all the negative things that happen so that you can get so frustrated with one another that you stop talking to each other? Could happen, right? Is it possible in your own life that you focus so much on all the 5% or 2% of negative things that happen in your life that it becomes a spiral negative thinking and all you can think about is bad? And isn't it true that we all have a Bilam inside us? And what's Bilam? He says, true, you took them out of Egypt, true, you gave them the splitting of the sea, true, they listened to you, they followed you in the desert, true, they're your people, true, they came out and you gave them the Torah, true, they went to the war with Amalek, true, all the wonderful things you did for them and they did for you, but remember the golden calf and all the times they tested you. Remember all the negative about them and let's focus on it. In your life, it's called, how many of you ever had this problem? Negative thinking. Do you know what that is? Negative thinking is that everything in your life is actually awesome. You're just in the best possible space you ever could be. But you decide you're not. Why? No. You wake up in the morning and you didn't sleep well, so you're cranky. Now that happens more at night. When you go to sleep at night, you know, like you stay awake at night and 1 o'clock in the morning and you're tired and whatever, and then you start thinking about, oh, this person did that to me, and like it's just so bad, and like everything's terrible, and you know, and I have to make this decision. I have to decide if I'm going to go work or go in shlichus or whatever. I don't know what to do with my life, and I'm so indecisive, and everybody else around me has a plan. And why is my family life so dysfunctional? Like, I can't even talk to my brother, and my mother's like, and everything's just terrible, and the world falls apart on you. I don't know if anyone has that problem. Yes? No? Negative thinking is such fun, isn't it? Because it's always better to predict a negative outcome, and then you can expect it. And when it happens, it's like, yes, I knew it would happen. I knew it, you see? Everything goes wrong for me in my life. Everything goes wrong. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. I knew it. And we love to have that certainty and predictability. And negativity is so much more predictable. That's your bilam. So it's weird, because your life could be absolutely, unbelievably awesome and incredible. But for some odd reason, you focus on all the negative. And because you focus on the negative, well, the negative becomes absolute and real in your life, and that becomes a dominating force in you, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's unreal how it works. Bilam is the force that comes into you, into a human being, and he says, let's find something problematic, and let's exacerbate the problem and focus on it until we get really, really upset and angry about it. And this way, I can destroy you. He's really, really, really good. What do we do? How do we get out of the spiral of negative thinking? Any ideas? It's tough running a monologue, by the way. Yeah, go ahead. What? Thinking good. How do you change the thinking? How do you think good? Learn? Means what? So the more you learn about emunah bitachon, what's going to happen to you? The more you'll... Right? If you learn about emunah bitachon, you'll feel good. Okay? How do you do that? How do you learn about emunah bitachon? So let's take this practically, right? Here's my negative thinking. My negative thinking is, if I need to raise $1 million and I need to walk into a philanthropist, or I want him to be a philanthropist, a wealthy person's home, it's intimidating. You know what's intimidating? To pick up the phone is intimidating. It's like you're holding the phone, you're like, hope he doesn't answer the call. And then he answers, and then he ignores you. And again, and again, and again. And you text him. And you're wondering, how many times should I text before I'm becoming a nuisance? You know? And then I call him and he says, what do you want? And what's the answer to that? What do I want? Because if I tell him I want money, then he's not going to listen. So I have to say, I just want coffee. Can we go out for coffee? The whole thing from beginning to end is intimidating, and it's not easy to run. So what happens is, my Bilam doesn't want any good things to happen. Bilam is not interested in the yeshiva coming about. How am I going to block the yeshiva from happening? What am I going to do? Very simple. What I'm going to do is get negative thinking in you, and then it won't happen. I'm going to get you to think negatively. How? Take God out of the picture. I'm going to get you to think like you're desperate for money. And if you don't get the money, what's going to happen? You lose the $500,000 you put down, the yeshiva closes down, all the negative things that could happen. The more you get into that space, what's going to happen when you start thinking about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I don't, the yeshiva closes down? What does that get me to feel? What? I get stressed. From stress, I can get depressed. From depression, I get to sleeping under my covers, and 29 days will pass by, and nothing will happen, and big problems. I can't be down right now, wrong time. So what do? So I have to fight my Bilam. In this actual verse is the key how to win. Because when you read the pasuk, what does it say? Ava Hashem Eleikecha lishmoya Bilam. What does that tell you? Hashem, your God, didn't want to listen to Bilam, so he didn't. And he transformed the curse into a blessing, because he loves you. Hashem Eleikecha loves you. Okay, so that tells me that Hashem should do the work. Hashem, please, I'm waiting. You got it, God. All yours. If you tell Hashem he's got it, you know what's going to happen? Is that what Hashem wants? He doesn't want you to say that. Why? Does Hashem want me to go asking people for money or not? How do you know? Very good. Excellent. Because you're in the situation of needing people to ask people for money, so Hashem wants you to ask people for money. So go ask people for money. But don't worry about them. That's the difference. What Hashem is saying is, I run the world. You don't need to worry about anyone or anything. Now go worry. But don't worry. Do it without the worry. Now, that's wonderful said. A whole different thing done. The answer to how to do it is in the verse itself. Hashem Eleikecha lishmoya Bilam. The way you don't listen to your Bilam, which is your negative thinking, is through activating Yud Kei Vav Kei Eloikecha. Hashem, your God. Now, if we spell out Yud Kei Vav Kei, what do we get? I'm going to write it, right? Oops. There's a Yud. There's a Hey. There's a Vav. That's 4 steps in your life. You have Yud Kei Vav Kei built into you. And what you want to do is activate these 4 steps in your life. Which means align yourself with the thinking the way you're meant to do it. So what we're going to learn here is really what a person is. What we're going to learn is not anything new. This is what you are. Just realize and get in touch with who you are. That's your Yud Kei Vav Kei. Let's go through the steps. If I were to write a Yud like that in the Torah, would it be kosher or not? What's missing? That's missing. What's that called? That's a tag, a little crown on the Yud. That's called Pinta Yid. The little point on top of the Yid. What's the little point on a Jew? What? Neshama, your soul. How do you activate it? What? The hidden love. Can you say that in English now? What meaning? What do I do? How do I get to there? How? But correct. You're going to sit down and lock yourself up in a room, and you're going to meditate and reflect on your relationship with the divine, on your connection to Hashem. And in this case, I'm going to sit down and meditate and say, every morning when I wake up, I'm going to go daven. And during davening, right now, I'm not asking Hashem to help me get the money. That's a separate thing. Of course, you have to ask Hashem for it. But in addition to that, what I'm doing right now is reflecting on how it doesn't make a difference whether I get the money or not. There is nothing over here that I have to be afraid of and anxious of and worried about. What I want to do now is get into a sacred zone of just me and Hashem. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, nothing. It's only between me and God. And frankly, Hashem doesn't need me for this. That's your Ava Mesoteres, your hidden love. Your hidden love is God doesn't think that I matter because I can make a yeshiva, because of anything I can do. God just loves me for being me. And I love Him for being Him. And that meditation is, well, it's a long reflection of a meditation. Because every Jew has what's called the power of Mesiras Nefesh, of giving yourself up to God totally. That's the Pintel Yid. And I want to ignite that force inside me. So I got to get to the point where I'm not scared of anything. I'm not anxious about anything. Because so what? So you want to get yourself into a zone which is just free fall, me and God. See, if we don't, what happens? We start up with the perspective of, listen, I need to prove my value to the world. So in order to do that, I need to look a particular way. I need to, put on a show. I need to pretend like I'm something I'm not. And then I fall into a space which is, oh my gosh, how on earth am I going to marry someone when I'm living in the world of pretense? I'm pretending to be someone that I'm not. And then I get scared. And I'm like, uh-oh, now what do I do? So now I'm going to live my whole life as a fake? Okay, I'm leaving. But I can't leave. I am this, I'm not this. And then you fall into a space of like, I wish I wasn't alive. I wish I could just numb the pain and get rid of this whole existence and not exist. Well, jumping is not a good idea. That hurts, and who knows where you go. But just not to exist. I wish I could not exist. Now, I don't know if anyone relates to that kind of thinking. Is that what sometimes people do? And when you do, doesn't it create a whole negative space? And it's so weird because you think you're normal. And then you discover that you're really not. And the problem is that Bilam is cursing. And if there weren't a Bilam, he wouldn't be mentioned in the Torah, because God believes that it's important to overcome Bilam. Bilam is negative thinking. Everything will be amazing. Let's focus on something that's bad and make it so huge, exacerbate the problem so much that it becomes a real problem, very real. And it's a real challenge and a real resistance. How do you overcome it? Activate Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Elekecha. It is your God. You just need to focus on it. Just like Bilam wants you to focus on something different, you focus on this. What do you focus on? This looks like, oh, abstract. What am I going to focus on? That Hashem is real, whatever. Yes, yes. If you don't have any problem with negative thinking, great, don't do this. If you're perfect, this is not for you. But if you have a Bilam who's driving you nuts, then you owe it to yourself to wake up in the morning and to daven Shachris. And what's Shachris? Step one of Shachris is, stop, pause, focus. The soul you gave me is pure. I am pure. I am in a space of communion, of oneness with the divine. Wow, what an awesome place to be in. I don't need to prove anything. My value has nothing to do with what you think about me. My value has nothing to do with anyone or anything or any outside force. Where's my value from? Ezra me Hashem. And Hashem thinks I'm awesome. So I'm awesome. What makes me awesome? Nothing. Just being. That's the space I want to be in. Step 1. This is before step 1 actually. This is not a step. The 4 steps are Yud K Vav K. This is not a step. This is just a perspective, a state of mind, a state of being called the Pinta Liyid. Get into a space one with God. Now we're going to begin the steps. Step 1 now, after you're in that space is, you know what happens when you think Hashem is everything and it's great and it's wonderful? What happens next? You're like, oh, so Hashem thinks I'm amazing. That's so cool. Great. So what do I need to do? Nothing. Great. I'm so excited. I don't have to raise $1 million because Hashem loves me regardless and everything's fine. Even if it closes down, even if it shuts down, it's all good. So I'm going to sit down, fold my arms, and do nothing. Is that what Hashem wants? Hashem wants you to walk right into the tension. He created you as a neshama so that your neshama you're in touch with your neshama, with your soul. And then you take your soul and you walk right out into the tension. Here I am. So what does that mean? It's very nice to have bitachon, you trust in Hashem, yeah, but you want to take that trust in Hashem and actually walk in front of this very scary person who has a lot of money and he gets your anxiety going and you want to walk in front of him and you want to say, I don't know you, I know God. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe explains that the analogy would be, look at your body, right? What would you say is the loftiest, highest part of your body? The most intricate part of your body is? The brain. What would you say is the least developed part of your body? Which one? Toenails? What? Hair and nails. Yeah. So let's talk about hair. I mean, the toenails at the bottom, that makes sense. But the funny part about it is that where is the concentration of hair, which is the lowest part of the body? Right by the brain. So weird. Like the brain gives rise to all these hairs. How come? Well, the answer is because hair, which is the lowest part of the body, actually has, in a certain sense, the greatest power. What's the power of hair? Hair has the power to bring the DNA of the brain to a space which is completely brainless. You can actually cut your hair. You can actually go to a barber, cut the hair, and you won't feel anything. You can cut it and it's gone. But that strand of hair, if you leave it in the scene of a crime, you will be caught. Why? Because the essence of who you are is expressed in the hair. So the brain and the hair are interconnected to each other. The brain's greatest achievement, in a sense, is the hair. The fact that something which can be cut off is also me. Every strand, every little occurrence in this world, look at it as a strand of hair of Hashem's head. Hashem is everywhere and in everything, but our world is like hair in the sense that you can cut it off, you can look at any experience detached from its divine source. But if you pay careful attention to anything that goes on in this world, what will you discover? God is right there, ever present inside everything. There is nothing in this world that's lacking of God in any way, shape, or form. Everything, every little strand of hair in this world is divine. That means whatever happens to you in this world, whatever happens, whatever someone says to you, when they scream at you, when they shout at you, when they insult you, when they compliment you, when you're worried about something, everything is Hashem talking to you. And your job is to uncover and unravel Hashem who is talking to you. It's called tzimtzum. Hashem contracts himself so you don't see God. He's hiding. He limits himself. He contracts himself so you don't see Hashem. What do you see? You see a strand of hair, right? It looks like it's functioning on its own. So let's take my example. If I have to walk into a guy and ask him for money, who am I asking for money? Who am I soliciting? Hashem. Hashem wants me to ask for money through going to this guy and asking him for money. And then the guy looks at me and he says, how dare you come to me and ask me for $100,000? What do you think I am, you don't even know me. And what am I feeling? Attacked, insulted, intimidated, whatever you want. Is God there? How do I find God? This is the Yud. The Yud is switch perspective. Whatever happens to you in this world, every single thing that happens is straight talk from Hashem. Direct. It's you and God having a conversation. That's what's happening. And so if you intimidate me, I say to Hashem, Hashem, I feel intimidated. But I know you're with me. I feel that you're with me, and I'm going to work hard to throw myself at you and to feel you even in this moment of lacking, because I know that every single thing is you. And it doesn't happen in a second. It's a muscle you need to work, and hard work to feel God everywhere. So if we went through the Pinta Yid, I'm sitting down, I'm feeling God's presence, and everything's Hashem. Then comes the activation of that in real life. So I need to, in my mind, change my perspective. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to raise the money. I don't need nothing. But I do need to do whatever Hashem thinks is normal in this world. That's what I need to do. And every step of the way, I need to find Hashem's presence in every strand of hair out there. That's the Yud. Why is it a Yud? Because the Yud's a little dot, little nakuda. Find Hashem's presence in everything. The Yud is nullify yourself, bitul, nullify yourself towards God in every single situation. Absolutely. It's thinking about Hashgacha Pratis. So therefore, you don't have the power to do anything to me. So if you get on a plane and the plane thing starts shaking, and you start shaking, because you're like, oh my gosh, take away the power from some external force and work hard on yourself to feel the power from Hashem. And there's a Yud and a Hey. The Hey is the development of that Yud. The Hey is an expanded Yud. It's got up, down, and a little foot. It's called Bina. Bina is to think about it, to meditate and reflect. So Yud is Chochmah, Hey is Bina. Yud is the perspective, Hey is developing that perspective, the perspective that started with a Pinta Yid. So I work on myself daily to realize Hashem is my power. I flex my bitachon muscle all the time. When I walk into the guy, I'm walking in my power. What I want to do ultimately is change the energy in the room. Imagine I walk into the guy. What would happen? Let me ask you this. What would happen if I own $1 billion? I'm a billionaire. And I want to open up a yeshiva and I want to collect $1 million. And what I want is to get it from other people, because I don't want to do it myself only. I want to feel other people care also. So I'm going to call up all my friends and say, I need $1 million. But I don't really. I have $1 billion myself. I just want to give you the opportunity to partner with me. How would the energy feel? Can you see the difference? Yeah? Well, you do have $1 billion. Just not, you don't see it. Because you have it. Because you have Hashem in your life. And He has everything. More than $1 billion. So what are you scared of? Who do you think is going to succeed better in getting that $1 million? If a guy has $1 billion and he calls him up, you see how he's going to call someone up and he's going to be like, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity, Joe. You want to give the money or you don't want to give the money? It's your opportunity. There's going to be like a certain power in his voice. And that power is what gets the other guy to listen. If he has the money. And if he has interest, a lot of things might happen. I want to change that power myself and get into that zone. How do I get there without having the $1 billion? The answer is by drawing my power from Hashem. Not a theory. It's a very powerful meditation. It applies to all your negative thinking in your life. Your life is a shambles if you decide that it is. But if you're able to get to the Pinta Yid, draw your sustenance from that in a constant daily meditation. And then as you get into the tension, every moment of your life, you start seeing it's a strand of hair from Hashem. This that's happening now is straight from Hashem. It's nothing else going on. So I'm already not scared of the potential failure. So what? and I'm just become a daring person. It's such fun. It's exciting. Like, I have nothing to lose. This is just absolutely fun, cool. It's awesome. That's the Yud and the Hey. The Yud is throwing yourself into it. The Hey is developing that thought. Are we on the same page? Makes sense? So far what I've done is, in theory, to develop the thinking. It means that, so just because I learned that I have bitachon. Okay, have bitachon. Trust in Hashem. Then I call the guy up and he says, what are you calling me up for? Like, who are you anyway? And then my bitachon goes down the tube. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the guy thinks I'm like, whatever. Why am I doing this? Why am I in this space? Why do I have to be like intimidated in such a way? The Hey is a deep, reflective contemplation in real time, all the time. And no, this too is Hashem, every step of the way. And I feel intimidated, but I still feel Hashem is with me. So it's not just a Yud, which is a once-off. It's a Hey, which is developing of this until you integrate this experience into your life. Then comes the Vav. What's the Vav? The Vav is drawing it down. So I haven't got time to go deep into the Vav and the Hey, but the Vav, think about it this way. The Vav, if Yud and Hey are Chochmah and Bina, then in the series, the Vav is the emotions and Hey is the action. So the Vav is Torah and the Hey is the mitzvahs. And why is that? Because the Vav and the Hey are really the same as the Yud and the Hey. The difference between a Yud and a Vav is the Vav is longer. The Vav brings down the Yud. So the Yud is a concept, an idea that Hashem is with me. The Vav is, okay, what does Torah say to do? So before I'm walking out into my experience to call up a donor, what am I doing? I'm in the morning, I don't need anything, Hashem is with me. That's the Pintaliyid. I'm going to think that everything's from Hashem, including this experience I'm going to have, and I'm meditating on that and reflecting. That's the Hey. Now, what does Torah say to do? Torah says that Hashem wants you to go out and ask for money. So I look in the Torah and I get my sustenance from the Torah. I know Hashem wants me to go out, so I go out because the theory is how to bring down the ideas. And then the Hey is activating it, which is, hey, would you like the opportunity to give money? But it's not really that. It's like, listen, imagine there's an energy in the room. It says, listen, Joe, Hashem is giving this. I'm not going to say this. I'm going to say, look, it's unbelievable, right? There's a yeshiva there, and it's happening. And would you like this opportunity to be able to, that all the learning Torah that's going to happen in this yeshiva is all yours. And Hashem gives you funds, money, and if He gave it to you, you have the ability to be the one to make it the start and make it happen. And it's all up to you. You see how the actual ask is me asking for an opportunity. And if he says, what are you calling me for? Whatever. And I'm not intimidated. I'm saying, I don't know, I call people who I have a high regard for and who I think of a possibility. If you don't fall into that category, then I'm apologizing for having called you. You can flip the situation on the other guy. This is a methodology, the Alter Rebbe explains, of what you could use in your life constantly. Because here's the point. Negative thinking, pay attention to yourself when you have negative thinking. If you don't have negative thinking, you're not a human being. There's a reason why Bilam is part of the Torah. The reason why he's part of the Torah, because this is absolutely real. This is going to happen to you. And what you want to do constantly is to notice that the way to overcome it is written in the pasuk. When you activate your Yud Kei Vav Kei, you make that into your God. Hashem is my power. Bring that into the Yud and the Hey, the space of active thinking. This is a strand of hair from Hashem. Vav and Hey means that Hashem is, I'm going to bring it down to the Vav, which means that what the Torah want me to do in the mitzvah and actually go activate it in my life. It's not easy, this. It's hard work. But if you do, what happens is, your Havaya Elekecha, what it does is, transforms as a klala libracha. The only reason you have negative thinking is to spur you on to greater heights you never deemed possible. And that's Ki Ahetcha Hashem Elekecha. Your Havaya Elekecha loves you and empowers you if you only seek to activate this power in your life.